Stop for a moment and focus on what is really happening in your interactions with women, because there is a layer here that most men completely overlook. Women rarely express attraction in a direct or obvious way. They do not usually walk up and clearly state what they feel or openly say they want to get closer to you. Instead, their interest shows itself in quiet, subtle signals, small behaviors, soft changes in how they act around you. And if you are not paying attention to those details, you can miss the signs completely without even realizing it. Attraction, especially in the beginning, is not loud or dramatic. It does not arrive as big declarations or clear statements. It is subtle. It is controlled. It reveals itself slowly through behavior rather than words. A woman may feel a real sense of connection toward you, but instead of saying it directly, she expresses it through small actions that can easily look normal on the surface, but carry a deeper meaning underneath. This is where most men get confused, not because they lack awareness, but because they are expecting something obvious, something spoken. But genuine emotional interest does not usually work that way. It develops gradually. It shows itself through patterns over time. And before we go deeper into this, I want you to really think about your own experiences for a second. Have you ever looked back at a situation weeks or even months later and suddenly realized she actually liked you? Maybe the signs were there the entire time, but you dismissed them because they seemed too small or too subtle. If that has happened to you, comment, "I missed the signs" below, because I promise you are not alone. And by the way, my name is Lauren, and on this channel we talk about human behavior, attraction, emotional intelligence, and the psychological dynamics most people never fully understand until it is too late. What makes this topic so important is that attraction is often communicated emotionally long before it is communicated verbally. A woman may never directly tell you she feels drawn to you, but her behavior will slowly begin to shift around you in ways that reveal far more than words ever could. The problem is that most men are trained to look for certainty instead of patterns. They wait for an obvious confession instead of paying attention to emotional consistency. And because of that, they completely miss what is unfolding right in front of them. Think about how human beings naturally protect themselves emotionally. Most people do not openly reveal attraction immediately because attraction creates vulnerability. Especially for women, emotional safety matters deeply. Before she openly expresses interest, she often needs to feel emotionally secure enough to test the connection first. That is why subtle signs matter so much. They are emotional tests, small invitations, quiet ways of exploring closeness without risking too much too soon. And once you understand that, everything starts to make more sense. The first sign is physical touch. When a woman is becoming comfortable with you and feels attraction building, she often starts creating small moments of contact. These are not dramatic or forced gestures. They feel natural and casual. She might lightly touch your arm while laughing. She might gently fix something on your shirt. She might brush against you during conversation, or stand just a little closer than necessary. Now, here is what most men misunderstand. They think attraction always looks seductive or obvious. But genuine attraction often starts in the smallest physical moments imaginable. I remember a man once describing a coworker he thought was just friendly. He said she would always tap his shoulder when talking to him, playfully nudge him during conversations, and find excuses to stand beside him during meetings. He ignored all of it because he assumed she behaved that way with everyone. Months later, another coworker finally told him, "She has been into you for the longest time." Suddenly, every small interaction made sense. Touch is psychologically powerful because it reduces emotional distance. Research in behavioral psychology consistently shows that physical touch increases feelings of trust, familiarity, and emotional bonding. When she initiates touch, even subtly, she is often testing comfort levels. She is observing how safe and emotionally receptive you feel. And this part matters more than most men realize. If you react with nervousness, stiffness, or discomfort, she may subconsciously interpret that as emotional disinterest. But if you remain calm, grounded and natural. It creates emotional safety. Attraction grows best in relaxed emotional environments, not tense ones. This does not mean every touch automatically equals attraction. Context matters, patterns matter, consistency matters. But when touch appears repeatedly alongside other signs, it becomes extremely meaningful. Now, let's go deeper because the next sign is where emotional connection truly begins to separate itself from surface-level interaction. The second sign is emotional openness. This is one of the clearest indicators that something is shifting in how she sees you. When a woman starts sharing personal parts of her inner world with you, she is allowing you into emotional territory that most people never get access to. Maybe she tells you about difficult moments from her childhood. Maybe she opens up about insecurities she hides from others. Maybe she talks about heartbreak, fears, family struggles, or dreams she rarely shares publicly. That is not casual conversation anymore. That is emotional trust, and trust is the foundation of intimacy. A lot of men make the mistake of trying to impress women constantly, thinking attraction is built entirely through performance. But emotional connection is often built through emotional safety, not performance. A woman becomes attached to the man she feels emotionally understood by. Think about the difference between talking to someone and feeling emotionally seen by someone. Those are completely different experiences. There is a reason people remember conversations that made them feel understood years later. Human beings crave emotional resonance. We crave spaces where we can remove the mask for a moment and simply be ourselves without judgment. When a woman begins sharing deeper emotions with you, she is unconsciously asking herself an important question. Can I emotionally relax around this person? And your response matters tremendously here. Many men panic when conversations become emotional. They try to fix everything immediately. They give solutions when she is actually looking for understanding. But emotional intimacy is not built by solving every problem. It is built by presence, listening, calmness, emotional steadiness. Sometimes the most attractive thing a man can do is simply create enough emotional safety for someone to feel heard. And, ironically, this is where many strong connections begin. Have you ever noticed how some conversations feel impossible to forget? You leave them thinking about that person for hours afterward because something about the interaction felt different, more real, more emotionally alive. That is what emotional openness creates. And the fascinating part is that emotional attraction often deepens before physical attraction fully catches up consciously. A woman may start feeling emotionally connected to you long before she fully understands the intensity of her feelings herself. That is why these subtle stages matter so much. The third sign is intentional one-on-one time. This is something many men overlook completely because they underestimate the importance of private emotional space. When a woman feels drawn toward you, she naturally starts creating opportunities where the interaction becomes more personal and less public. She may linger after everyone leaves. She may text you separately instead of only responding in group chats. She may suggest walking together after an event. She may find reasons to continue conversations longer than necessary. And none of this usually feels forced. That is the key. Attraction often hides inside plausibly casual behavior. On the surface, it can all seem innocent, but psychologically, what is happening is incredibly significant. She is reducing social distractions to focus emotional attention directly onto you. Because real emotional connection rarely develops deeply inside loud group environments. It develops in focused moments where two people can actually observe and feel each other's emotional energy clearly. Pay attention to the emotional atmosphere during these moments too. Does the conversation slow down naturally? Does eye contact become more sustained? Does she seem reluctant for the interaction to end? Does she continue introducing new topics just to keep the conversation going? Those details matter. People invest time where emotional interest exists. One woman once described how she used to intentionally miss her earlier train home just to spend an extra 20 minutes talking to someone she liked after work. The man assumed it was coincidence for months. It was not coincidence at all. She was emotionally prioritizing proximity. And this is where many men fail without realizing it. They dismiss subtle invitations because they are waiting for certainty. But attraction is usually built through gradual emotional momentum, not immediate clarity. If you constantly need perfect confirmation before responding emotionally, you will often miss opportunities entirely. Now, let's talk about one of the most fascinating subconscious behaviors connected to attraction: mirroring. When a woman feels emotionally engaged with you, she will often begin unconsciously matching your behavior. If you lean forward slightly, she may do the same. If you lower your voice, her tone may soften too. If you slow your speech, she often adjusts her rhythm naturally. This happens because human beings subconsciously mirror people they emotionally connect with. It is called limbic synchrony in psychology. Our nervous systems naturally seek emotional harmony with people we feel safe around. And the incredible part is that most people have absolutely no idea they are doing it. You will notice it in tiny ways: shared phrases, similar posture, matching energy levels, even synchronized laughter. When emotional chemistry exists, two nervous systems begin subtly adapting to each other. This is why certain interactions feel effortless, while others feel draining. Emotional compatibility often reveals itself physically before either person consciously understands it. And here is something important. Attraction is not just about beauty, status, or appearance. Those things may create initial attention, but emotional synchronization is what creates lasting connection. People become deeply attached to those who make them feel emotionally regulated and psychologically understood. That is why someone can be objectively attractive yet still feel emotionally distant, and why someone else can become increasingly attractive over time, simply because being around them feels emotionally calming and natural. This is also why confidence matters so much, but not in the way social media often describes it. Real confidence is emotional steadiness. It is the ability to remain calm, grounded, observant, and emotionally secure without constantly chasing validation. Women are highly sensitive to emotional energy. They notice how a man handles silence, pressure, uncertainty, and emotional tension. They notice whether he becomes needy for reassurance or whether he stays emotionally centered. And that emotional stability creates safety. Safety creates trust. Trust creates intimacy. And intimacy creates attraction that goes far deeper than surface chemistry. Now, there is another sign that becomes incredibly revealing once you start noticing it: the way she talks about the future. And we are going to break that down because this is where attraction quietly shifts into emotional attachment in ways most men completely fail to recognize. Before you continue, make sure you like this video if you are starting to see attraction differently already. And if you enjoy these deeper psychological insights into relationships and human behavior, subscribe to Lauren Mind Game, because is where we uncover the hidden behaviors that reveal when a woman is emotionally investing in you long before she ever says it out loud. Now let's continue, because this next sign is one of the strongest psychological indicators that attraction is slowly turning into emotional attachment: the way she talks about the future. When a woman begins including you in future-oriented language, even casually, it reveals something happening beneath the surface emotionally. She may say things like, "We should try that restaurant sometime," or "You would love this place, we should go one day." Maybe she mentions a movie coming out months from now and automatically assumes the two of you will watch it together. Most men hear these statements and think they are random comments. They are not. What is actually happening is subtle but psychologically important. In her mind, you are beginning to exist inside her future mental space. She is no longer experiencing you as temporary or situational. She is unconsciously imagining continuity with you. And human beings only do that with people who emotionally matter to them. Think about it carefully. We do not naturally picture future experiences with people we feel disconnected from. Our brains emotionally prioritize people we feel attached to. So when she casually shifts from I language into we language, even in small ways, it often signals growing emotional investment. This is why seemingly simple phrases can carry so much hidden meaning. A woman once explained that she realized she was falling for someone when she started automatically thinking about him during ordinary moments throughout her day. She would see a cafe and think, "He would like this place." She would hear a song and immediately wonder if he would enjoy it too. That is emotional integration. And once someone becomes integrated into your emotional world, attraction starts moving beyond curiosity and into attachment. Now, here is where things become even more interesting. The sixth sign is her voice. This is one of the most overlooked indicators of attraction because most people focus entirely on words while ignoring tone, pacing, rhythm, and emotional softness. But the nervous system reveals emotions constantly through the voice. When a woman feels emotionally comfortable and attracted to you, her voice often changes naturally around you. It may become softer, slower, warmer, more expressive. You may notice she laughs differently around you than she does with others. Her speech may become more playful, more emotionally engaged, more relaxed, and this is rarely conscious. In psychology, emotional states directly affect vocal tone because our nervous systems influence muscle tension, breathing patterns, and emotional expression. When someone feels safe and emotionally connected, their voice often reflects it automatically. Pay attention to this carefully in real life. Does her tone become gentler during private conversations with you? Does she sound more emotionally present compared to how she speaks in group settings? Does she lower her voice slightly when conversations become personal? Those shifts matter, because sometimes the emotional truth of a conversation is communicated far more through energy than through words. And this is exactly why emotionally intelligent people often sense attraction before anything is openly stated. They are not mind readers. They are simply paying attention to emotional behavior instead of relying only on verbal confirmation. Now step back for a moment and look at all these signs together. Physical touch, emotional openness, intentional one-on-one time, mirroring, future-focused language, voice changes. Individually, each sign may seem small, easy to dismiss, easy to rationalize away, but attraction is rarely built from one dramatic moment. It is built through repeated emotional consistency. That is the part most men fail to understand. They look for certainty in isolated moments instead of recognizing emotional patterns over time. And because of that, they either overreact too early or completely miss genuine connection entirely. A man once shared a story about a woman he worked with for nearly a year. She always found excuses to stop by his office. She remembered tiny details from conversations nobody else would remember. She sent him articles related to things he casually mentioned weeks earlier. She always laughed hardest at his jokes, even when nobody else did. But he convinced himself she was, probably, just nice. Months later, when she finally stopped trying and emotionally pulled away, he suddenly realized how much effort she had consistently invested into the connection. And this happens constantly. People often recognize attraction most clearly only after the attention disappears, because consistency is easy to take for granted when you do not understand what it actually means emotionally. Now, I want to pause here and ask you something important. Have you ever experienced a situation where you only realized someone cared about you after they emotionally distanced themselves? Be honest with yourself. Sometimes people do not lose attraction suddenly. Sometimes they simply get tired of sending signals that are never being recognized. And this is why emotional awareness matters so much. Not to manipulate people, not to play games, but to stop missing genuine human connection because you were too focused on certainty, fear, or overthinking. One of the biggest mistakes men make is assuming attraction must always look bold and obvious. But emotionally healthy attraction often develops carefully and gradually, especially for women. Many women communicate attraction indirectly because indirect communication feels emotionally safer. It lowers vulnerability while still creating opportunities for connection. And once you understand that, you stop expecting exaggerated signs. You start paying attention to emotional investment instead. That changes everything, because attraction is not just about flirtation. It is about attention, effort, presence, consistency, energy, emotional availability. People naturally move toward what emotionally excites them and emotionally away from what drains them. So, if a woman consistently creates opportunities to connect with you, emotionally engages with you, remembers details about you, mirrors your energy, prioritizes time with you, and slowly includes you inside her emotional world, that is not random. That is emotional movement toward you. And there is another important layer most men overlook completely. Attraction grows strongest in emotional environments where there is calmness instead of pressure. This is why desperate behavior damages attraction so quickly. Neediness creates emotional tension. It signals fear of loss before genuine connection has fully developed. And emotionally, that feels heavy. But calm confidence creates emotional space, and emotional space allows attraction to breathe naturally. Think about the people you feel safest around emotionally. Usually, they are not the people trying hardest to impress you. They are the people who feel emotionally grounded, emotionally secure, and emotionally present. That energy is magnetic. And contrary to what many people believe, emotional intelligence is one of the most attractive qualities a person can have. A man who understands emotional nuance, who notices subtle behavior, who listens deeply instead of performing constantly, who responds calmly instead of reactively, stands out immediately, because emotionally aware people make others feel emotionally seen, and feeling seen is one of the deepest human desires that exists. Now, here is something else you need to understand. Not every sign automatically means romantic attraction. This matters. Some people are naturally warm, emotionally expressive, or physically affectionate. Context always matters. Patterns matter more than isolated behaviors. The goal is not to obsess over every interaction searching for hidden meaning. The goal is awareness, healthy awareness. The ability to notice emotional consistency without becoming paranoid or emotionally dependent on validation. Because ironically, people who constantly chase certainty often destroy natural connection by overanalyzing everything. Attraction grows best when there is emotional presence instead of constant pressure. So instead of asking yourself, "Does she definitely like me?" ask yourself a better question. How does she consistently behave around me compared to others? That question reveals far more. And if the signs consistently point toward emotional investment, the best thing you can usually do is remain grounded, emotionally open, and authentic. Not performative, not manipulative, authentic. Because real connection cannot grow where people are pretending constantly. And here is the beautiful part most people eventually realize too late. When you truly understand attraction, you stop chasing people obsessively. You stop trying to force outcomes. You stop panicking over every delayed text or every uncertain moment. Because you begin trusting emotional patterns instead of reacting emotionally to isolated moments. That creates peace. That creates confidence. And ironically, that confidence often makes you even more attractive. Because emotional security changes your entire energy. You listen differently. You observe differently. You communicate differently. You stop trying to win connection and instead start building it naturally. And that is where the deepest relationships actually begin. Not through manipulation, not through games, but through emotional awareness, consistency, and mutual emotional safety. Attraction is not something you force. It is something you notice, nurture, and allow to develop naturally over time. And once you understand the psychology behind these subtle signs, relationships stop feeling confusing and chaotic. You begin seeing emotional behavior with far more clarity. You stop needing constant reassurance because you finally understand what genuine interest actually looks like in real life. Quiet attention, consistent effort, emotional openness, intentional closeness, subtle investment. That is where attraction usually begins. And often, those quiet moments carry far more truth than loud words ever could. If this video helped you understand attraction and emotional connection on a deeper level, make sure you subscribe to Lauren Mind Game, because this channel is all about decoding the psychology behind relationships, attraction, emotional intelligence, and human behavior in a way that actually changes how you see people. And before you leave, I want you to comment something honestly. Which sign do you think men misunderstand the most when it comes to female attraction? I really want to hear your thoughts because sometimes the smallest behaviors reveal the biggest emotions.